Welcome to the Essentially You podcast. Dr. Anna Cabeca, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I am blessed to be here with you today, Mariza. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am so excited to have you here. I have been looking forward to this conversation for so long. You're one of my dearest friends. I consider you such an important inspiration in my life. And I know that you've been on before. And I just want to take a moment and just quickly just sing some of the accolades. One, we are celebrating your third book, which is incredible because this is your third book in less than 6 years, which in the publishing world is almost unheard of. Usually it takes 2 to 3 years to get a book out in the world, and you have done it in under a year and a half every single time. So there's that. You bought a new house this week. You have a brand new granddaughter that you delivered yourself last night.
Yes.
And just so much more going on. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad that we're going to be talking about what it looks like to take a pause in life and kind of reassess not only our health, our hormones, our diet, but also just the way that we're operating in this world. Because that, I think, is one of the biggest messages that you've learned after finishing this new book.
Yes, absolutely. I really think there's a magic in the pauses in our life. There's absolute magic. And I reflect on that as you kind of just round up. I'm like, oh my God, I have done all that. And I've moved to Texas and we have horses and I haul a horse trailer on weekends and I do all these things. But let me tell you, not even, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I mean, I was stressed, depressed, and my hormones were a mess. I mean, truthfully, I remember just in a place where I was so sad, so depressed, so sick, so hormonally imbalanced that, I couldn't imagine how I was going to make it through one day, let alone be where I am right now. And honestly, when I think about that, and it really is why I'm so passionate about what I do. And I delivered my first grandbaby last night from my firstborn daughter. So she had her firstborn daughter, and we did it in a beautiful, natural way in a birthing center. And she had a natural birth. And it was
Not a
incredible.
Tylenol.
Not even a Tylenol or an Advil. I'm telling you, nothing. And there was an extra magic coincidence that occurred. And I never heard, and I'm an obstetrician, right? And I've to not deliver in a hospital, first of all, that was nearly freaking me out. In obstetrics, your OBGYN will tell you, obstetrics is 95% joy, 5% sheer terror. 5% sheer terror. And I know that as an OB, right? So I had to make sure, all these safety backups and everything else was going on, and be patient during the entire delivery process. And, like, what do we want to do as OBs? We want to intervene. We want to get it done quicker and as painlessly as possible. And so just like letting this whole natural process, especially with my daughter, just evolve in front of me was amazing. And she said to me, she goes, Mom, once you deliver Andalisa, is my granddaughter's name.
Beautiful.
Andalisa, when you deliver her, I want to do a pause ritual. I'm like, okay, well, I know there's magic in the pauses. What do you mean this pause ritual? And she says, it's a process where you lay the baby down next to me, not on me, not on my chest or anything. And we just take this moment. She transitions in and I transition, out of just delivering her. We just pause. And so like after I delivered her, and not cutting umbilical cord, just letting placenta deliver naturally. Also, I just, put Andalisa next to my daughter, Amanda, and they just took breaths and paused, and it was quiet and peaceful. And you could feel like the thickness of love. You could feel this thickness, and you could just see this transition, like Andalisa's coming into the world. Amanda's taking in this new child, this new life, right? It's a transition into the world, and there are transitions in our life. And I'm going to draw the line with menopause, right? Menopause seems like such a fearful transition, but it's a pause in our life. And it is like, it can be magic on the other side. I wouldn't have said that 7, 8 years ago. I would not have said that. And for not the things that I've learned and I teach and you teach, I couldn't be here now having this moment with you. I couldn't have been up for 36 hours straight, even delivering my grandbaby, and, have 3 hours of sleep and
then come
be
here.
able to function. Oh my gosh. No. And I have clarity and I have energy and I have joy. I'm totally an oxytocin high too. So.
Mm-hmm. Anna, was it always your desire to get to deliver your grandbabies, or at least one of your grandbabies?
Honestly, it was. It really was. And I didn't know, your children are your children, and they have their own way of doing things. And
Hmm.
certainly my firstborn is very much that way. And as she illustrated by doing a complete natural childbirth, right? And having her birthing plan. It's funny because in obstetrics we say, and in general, there's that saying that, we plan and God laughs, right? In obstetrics, someone comes in with a birthing plan and we're like, well, there's a 50% chance that this is going to happen, right? And so I always thought I would, I always hoped that my daughters would let me deliver them. And so I was really blessed when she asked me. And she continued to want me even in the throes of very painful labor. I was there for her. And there were some times, Mariza, where she was like, Mama, I can't do this. I'm like, girl, you can do this. You are so strong. You're so brave. You are so beautiful. You can do this. And just take a deep breath and enjoy these pauses in between your contractions, right? That's where you get that strength again to be able to take the next thing that comes your way. And right now it's this contraction. You got this. You've gone through a lot harder things in your life. You can do this, right? We're in this together. And on the backside of me, I'm like, when am I going to call it quit? When am I going to rush her to the hospital and do a C-section? This was in the back of my mind, honestly, thinking like, oh my God, I can't see my daughter in this pain, right? She delivered Andalisa, and the thought of all that pain was gone. And hence I write about this hormone a lot, oxytocin, not to be confused with oxycodone, the pain medicine,
Not
oxytocin, the
to be
hormone of love,
confused. We
not
talk
to be
about
confused.
oxytocin a lot. So,
Your audience knows. Sometimes I get the
yes.
questions. And so, it's that power of oxytocin, that analgesic hormone, right? It's a natural pain reliever. It's a natural amnestic hormone. You forget the pain of childbirth. I mean, for the most part, you forget that pain. And it has so many. It's the anti-aging hormone. It's the hormone of longevity. It's the hormone of love and connection. It's a hormone that, at the end of our days, we want to have a life full of oxytocin. We want to be surrounded by the people we love and that we have loved. And so I thought about all this during this time where the rest of the world was shut out, and my daughter and her sisters and I were in that delivery room, and we just embraced every moment. We stood by each other. I saw her sisters just come to her, they're each other's aid, but come to Amanda's aid and help her and massage her back and hold her hand and just be support. And I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. I mean, there was a time in teenagers, my daughters and I, we didn't get along. And to
Mm.
be in this stage at this time now with like love and connection, and then to be walking into a 3-generation household coming up. So as I move into my new house in Dallas, having my daughter and granddaughter move in too. I mean, I think that's just a tremendous statement to the power of oxytocin.
Mm. Mm.
When we prioritize that in our life and prioritize our health and our state of well-being, our filling our tanks first, because we can think as moms, especially, I've got to take care of, everyone else. I've got to take care of my children, got to take care of, all the hats we wear. But until we take care of our health and take care of ourselves, I mean, that energy creates a high positive energy vibration. Then people want to be around us. When we're negative, when we're bitter, when we're resentful, I mean, that's a negative vibration. We repel the people that love us most. We will repel them. So learning that lesson from going from the pits of hell to where I am living the best life. I mean, I can tell that to you, Mariza, and I was thinking about this. I know I'm rambling, but I no longer have to fake being happy. I
Mm.
feel it. And that's powerful because, my story, I lost my child. I had tremendous PTSD and trauma, and one thing after the other, one trauma after the other for a decade. And so to be here and to be thinking, oh my God, I no longer have to fake being happy. It's powerful.
It's so powerful. And so I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy. And for the work that you do in the world, which I know this was, thinking about delivering your granddaughter and then delivering your third book. It's a third
Exactly.
generation book.
It is. It is. It's an evolution.
And I want to talk a little bit about this book. I'm really excited about this book because I know so many women come to you and I, and we serve a lot of the same women in our communities. And a lot of our women they're struggling. They're struggling with energy issues. They're struggling with weight issues. They're struggling with brain fog and sleep issues. And they're just not feeling the way that they used to, 10, 5, even 3 years ago. And we know that food plays a massive role in being able to reset our endocrine system, being able to reset our hormones. And I think that is kind of the impetus for why you wrote Menopause, was that this is about how we can make some really powerful changes, simple changes. I've always loved how simple you make things so that we're able to execute them. I think about the everyday woman is got so much on her plate as well, and how we can make it as simple as possible. And so I know you explore a lot of different ways in which that we can pause how we've been eating, the way we've been eating in this book. And you found this kind of magic number, which is around 6 days, or maybe a week, basically, where we can make a shift and really change, have some food freedom and make some really big gains in terms of what's going on with our metabolic health and our overall endocrine system.
Yeah, and I love this 6. I was trying to think, okay, what's the shortest number of days to make a pause in certain things we're doing? Often what's happened in our society, first of all, food is medicine, right? You know that, I know that. And the ancient physicians were the chefs to the king way back through the Ottoman Empire. The physician to the king was prepared their food. And that's the medicinal power of food. And somehow we lost that in our medical systems, at least, I mean, I had a few hours of nutrition class in med school, but, I mean, beyond that, there wasn't so much. But food is medicine. And somehow we lose that. And in working over the past several years in my whole keto alkaline food and lifestyle, eating and lifestyle, I've seen where sometimes we get stuck, where a client would say, well, I'm doing this and I'm struggling, I'm hitting a plateau. And I'm like, okay, let's make these shifts. So in Menopause, I created these shifts, and then I wanted to do it in the shortest amount of time. So it is a pause, just like take a beat. What we know in medicine is, in physiology, is the gastrointestinal mucosa, the gut lining of the intestinal lining regenerates every 72 hours. So like if we do a fast, we want to do it for 72 hours. If we do bone broth only, we want to do it for 72 hours. If we do shake, we want to do 72 hours. If we eliminate a food, we want to do it at least 72 hours. So in Menopause, I put 2 72-hour cycles. So hence 6 days. In 6 days, we should see, is this serving us or not serving us? Are we feeling a little better? Are we feeling, is this not making a difference? And so and that's where the 5 6-day plans came from. And yeah, so
I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, anytime we're reintroducing, from an elimination, if dairy is serving us, or eggs are serving us, or coffee is serving us, or alcohol is serving us, giving yourself at least those 72 hours. But then and I love the question, and because, oftentimes, especially with, protocols and programs that are removing foods that I think, often are not serving us. I like that question of the being inquisitive around that. Like, I know that sugar doesn't serve me. I know this. I also know that alcohol doesn't serve me either. And, I always want to be doing things that are good for my body. Like, and there are times where, it's a celebration, like a rosé champagne is being passed around. And before me, 5-year me, oh my gosh, I love me some rosé champagne. I am not going to pretend like I don't. It's sparkly and fun and all the things and pretty. But I'll ask myself, like, well, is tomorrow me going to appreciate this? Is it going to serve me? Is my liver going to appreciate this? And that's really the question I'm asking myself. And so I love that you reframe in that way, that is my body going to appreciate, is this going to serve me in the long run? And I think the more that we can ask ourselves these questions, it can really give us the yes around doing a 6-day pause, like really figuring out what's going on with our body, because we've kind of gotten that add that question answered of, yes, this is going to serve me. Yes, this is going to be good for me. Yes, kind of removing some of these things. And I've always loved, I think one of the things that I've so loved about what you've brought into the last two books was, I think, getting us into ketosis, healing our insulin resistance, creating more metabolic flexibility, but doing it in a green, like creating an alkaline system. Like that's the way we heal our bodies. And so I love that you have gone even further into this, especially when it comes to our bodies. You and I both know that as we head into menopause, gosh, our metabolic resilience can tank with our hormones. And so coming up with ways that we can kind of reclaim some of that metabolic resiliency, I'm just so excited about what you've created here.
And I wanted to do it in bite-sized ways, right? Because I think that makes a difference. And focusing on, I would say, urine pH is a vital sign that we have to pay attention to. And it's interesting because, like I just knew from working with myself and working with my own physiology and working with my patients, I am healthier, stronger. I can make better decisions and choices to, for that whole wine conversation. We really need to have a glass of wine over and talk about, and I will whine over not having wine for sure. And so, but it's true. Does it serve me? Is it really worth the next day effects? I mean, really? And I think that just convincing ourselves, why am I, what is the reason that I am sabotaged? What am I tying to this? Maybe it's just I need to put some sparkling water in that wine glass and enjoy it, right? Maybe there's something else I need to do to give me that sense like I'm really treating and celebrating. What is it else that I need? I think these are really powerful questions. And so with menopause, as I really work to create menopause and checking again that importance of the alkaline foods but pausing the things that could be getting in our way, and how do we look at that? The research that Dr. David Perlmutter, he's just a mentor to me, and he came out with his new book Drop Acid, and the work of Dr. Johnson looking at uric acid and metabolic syndrome and how certain people are designed to have higher, that's an evolutionary consequence of higher uric acid to have the ability to survive longer periods of fasting. And I think that was fascinating because a more alkaline urine pH says you're clearing more uric acid, is associated with lower levels of uric acid. And that's key. And the concept of adding in those greens, those alkalinizers, those herbs and spices support a healthy gut microbiome.
I was about to actually mention Dr. Perlmutter's book in my kind of conversation of the keto green piece and how important it is to get our uric acid levels down, and how it is definitely an indicator of metabolic dysfunction, potentially type 2 diabetes. And so I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I thought about when the book had come out, I immediately thought of keto green, and how that really, the evidence is there, like that if you are going to be doing keto, which I think is super important, especially pulsing keto, I think for women it's so critical, so critical. But we've got to do it in a way that is really, really healthy and alkalizing at the same time. And so that is what I loved so much about your books, is that you've combined, like, it was the missing piece of keto for so many people, especially for women. We're not tiny men. We're just not.
We are not hairless men either, right? And they have 10 times as much testosterone, which is so protective for them. And one of the things that I've recognized in working with people in the keto green lifestyle for so long is that sometimes we need that carb up. And so I always have the 10-80-10 rule, like 10% feasting, 80% keto green, 10% fasting, right? That combination. One of the plans in menopause is a carb up plan. It's because sometimes we're so fearful of the carbohydrates, but once we add them, I've had clients lose 2 or 3 pounds in 6 days with the carb up plan. It just blows my mind sometimes, because sometimes it's just that missing piece to get a better night's sleep, to help with hormone balance, to feed the gut bacteria. I mean, there can be multiple reasons. So each of the plans brings with it another edge, another twist, another fine tuning, another area of insight, like you said, like being able to see what is serving us and what isn't serving us. What do I need to let go of? And, what's okay?
Mm-hmm. I want to get a little bit into the nitty gritty, because I know so many women have tried keto, hopefully they've tried yours with great. A lot of times women have just done like what I call like man keto or just like acidic keto, just not in a really sustainable way and haven't gotten the results that they're looking for. And so in your experience, and I know that every single one of us is different. So I do want to preface that, if we're finding ourselves struggling with some weight issues, and what I have learned on like just in research and in lab reports is that the weight is always a symptom of the insulin resistance, of the metabolic dysfunction. It's not that we have weight issues first and then we see the blood sugar roller coaster, right? No, that's been going down. Finally, it shows up on the scale. And so, I find that if we're seeing that level of stubborn weight that just won't go anywhere, that doing a keto pulse is definitely one of the best things to do. How long would you recommend? Would it be longer than 6 days? Should we do for 6 days? And then what would be the extension? Because I feel like, for kind of like more sustainable metabolic flexibility, that for some of us, once we got a taste of that 6 days, that maybe we should continue to see what happens.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely a possibility, and we have to
Mhm.
see. And that's where being in tune with yourself, like, what are we using? What gets measured gets managed. Are we using a tape measure? Are we using a scale? Are we using urine pH, keto test strips? What are we doing to measure? How's our symptom score? And the other thing, the concept of 6 days, is the seventh day is a play day, and I don't like to call it a cheat day. I was interviewed on, I forget if it was people.com, about one of the Kardashians doing keto. And on the seventh day, like her Sunday, she would have pancakes and whatever, but she was getting success. And like, what do you think about her cheat day was the question to me. I'm like, I consider it a feast day. Is she learning from it? Does she feel good on Monday? Is she continuing? Does that help her do 6 days of keto? I mean, how is that working for her? And so the seventh day is maybe a fasting day for us. Maybe that's an extended fast day. Maybe it's a feasting day periodically. And see in our stages. For me, I can run down a rut of too much carbs, certainly. And that can, again, then I backtrack. It can work for a while. So for me, pulsing in 1 day a week, maybe 1 day every 2 weeks of a healthy carb up day, that's something to consider. I got to choose my carbs because, that truffle fries, may not be.
You gotta choose your carbs. Well,
Choose
and
my carbs.
that lends to, I think about, I don't know if these are gluten-free, organic
They-
pancakes that she's eating, or, are
right.
these, at the end of the day, you rarely see a French fry not fried in some level of vegetable oil. And so, I've always been of the mindset, besides managing metabolic flexibility, is managing inflammation. So you could have I'm all for the feast day of non-inflammatory foods.
Yes.
You don't blow up the 6 days,
No.
with a fried chicken sandwich and some French fries. Like, you go to, what is it called? Chick-fil-A. I don't know what it's called. That's not what I would consider a feast day. That is I'm just going to be real. Destroy your body day is what I would call that.
You are absolutely right. And the thing is, like, it depends on where people are starting.
Mm-hmm.
We've come a long way. For many people, that can be part of their lifestyle. And so where are they starting? And once you're clean, what does it feel like when you reintroduce that? I mean, the most common thing I've seen in working with patients is like, oh, well, we went out and we had pizza and I feel terrible. Oh my God, I learned so much. That's an education day, right? And then we'll look and say, okay, well, it's not worth it next time. You and me on our wine. It's like, oh God, I love some wine, but I don't feel as good. I'm not as flexible. I'm more off balance. I'm more likely to cancel my gym class if I had wine, even one glass of wine the night before. It's taken me a little while to make that connection, but there's a connection there.
Exactly.
They become slow learners. We put blinders on, like we've got horses, you put blinders on a horse when you don't want to, you don't want them to see what could potentially be distracting them. And it's
Absolutely.
so true.
It's so true. Well, I was thinking about, last time you were on the show, we were talking about we were wearing continuous glucose monitors together, and all the insight that we gathered from it. And one of the big insights, I remember you had learned you couldn't, like, even espresso in the morning on its own without food, before food, it was a no-go because it was spiking your blood sugar levels. It's not that it got removed. It's just that you just moved up the timeline to, you would have espresso when you broke your fast, because that would equal things out. And I am so grateful to tell you that does not happen to me. Thank goodness. I always have coffee in the morning. But one of the things that was really lighting me up, causing some, just major spikes, was sweet potatoes. And I cut sweet potatoes out for a very long time. But Alex and I decided that we would bring them back, because one, we cook them for Kingston. He loves sweet
So
potatoes.
yummy.
So good. He eats all real food. All, that's his diet. So like sweet potatoes and chicken and veggies and berries and and things like that, and olive oil and so avocado, those types of things. And it's been really hard to make these sweet potatoes for this baby and not have them. And finally I was like, I've decided that, maybe once every couple of weeks or once a week, we would bring sweet potatoes in with our salmon and our broccoli, and just integrate that, what I consider to be a relatively healthy carb that does spike my blood sugar levels. That I decided that I feel it's okay every now and again to bring those back in, and just kind of, still being mindful, and taking those kind of pauses of carbs that you may raise your blood sugar, or have an impact on your body that may not be impactful for somebody else.
And that just sounds amazing. And it just makes me think how I switched how I prepare sweet potatoes. I'm totally going to get some sweet potatoes tonight. Mariza, we're going to have some Dr. Mariza sweet potatoes tonight.
I love
But
purple sweet potatoes too. Oh my gosh.
I haven't tried
Oh
those.
my
I
God.
definitely,
So
I'm
good.
going to, okay. I'm going to go get some. So one of the things, like, thinking about sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving, sweet potato casserole, right? It has cinnamon and brown sugar on it. So if we just do sweet potatoes, baked sweet potato with butter, purified butter, and if you can't do butter, you can do coconut oil and cinnamon. I mean, it's magic. Or pumpkin spice seasoning. It's like, for me, that's just so incredible. Sweet potato fries baked in the oven, another healthy, really good healthy option. And it's like omitting them may not be the right answer, but I've learned from so many women in my Girlfriend Doctor Club community that I've worked with virtually. And one of my clients, Mary, she's in her 70s. She's been following my keto green plan for, gosh, since 2015, early 2015. And she says, for a while, reintroducing of any healthy carbs. I mean, she's at her ideal body weight and everything now, but she said in that time, she said reintroducing any carbs put her on that sugar sweet tooth cycle. And that was something to really recognize too, because it brought a lot of, again, that downward spiral. Like, one glass of wine is good, two is better. For her, even the healthy sweet potato took her down this cycle. So it's taken time for her. Again, we have to meet each individual. That's why we're so individual. We have to meet each one with where we're at right now. Now she can do it. It took her a little while, but now she can introduce some feast days in, essentially some sweet potatoes and some rice, if she wanted to. And so that was a really big eye opener for me too, because she was so connected with what could take her off course, what could affect her, how that maybe fed some way back dormant candida that created some inflammation in her system.
Mhm.
And also then that, food addiction behavior. So I think that's where you started out this talk just exactly perfectly, because that discernment, that self-assessment, what is serving us, what isn't serving us. And we've got a lifetime to figure it out. So,
Well, and it's so funny that you
and it
mentioned that.
changes.
It so changes. So another reason why I wanted to bring sweet potatoes back in is that we have snuck like keto desserts into our life. And and we can speak into keto desserts because a lot of them,
So good.
oftentimes they are so good, but they can often have artificial sweeteners and just like other things, And so, and we had become okay with them coming on in. And I started realizing I wasn't feeling as great. Like I was feeling more bloated, and this isn't too often, but this was happening like on the weekends. And so I was eating keto chocolate and, things like that. And I was like, I can get away with this. And then I just wasn't feeling super hot. But then I got this really crazy, like I started developing more of a sweet tooth, and I was looking to Alex and I was like, Alex, I think this is the most sugar, or it technically wasn't sugar, sugar, non-sugar we've been eating in so long. long. And that was actually the impetus for bringing the sweet potatoes back, like maybe once a week, was that because I had missed sweet potatoes, like that was the one little thing that was sweet, but we always baked them. We roasted them with rosemary and olive oil. We always paired them with salmon or a big salad. I would put them in a salad with grass-fed steak or something like that. And so it was always with proteins and fiber and everything like that.
And healthy fat.
Yeah,
That's key. Healthy fat.
But then I just got rid of sweet potatoes, and I just needed to like fill that gap. I realized, and we literally had this conversation last night, as I'm like, we're bringing them back in once a week and we're getting rid of, for a moment, we're just going to there are times where I just feel for us in our bodies, at least in my body, that I just want only real food. Like food that we cook, our vegetables, we chop them, we do all the things, and that there's nothing that's coming in a box, or there's no keto ice cream coming into the house. Like I can prepare all of the things that are coming into the house. And so that's where I'm at, but I still want a little something. And so it was the sweet potatoes, on like on a Friday night or something like that, was the thing where I was like, this is going to make this so much easier for me. And it's going to feel so much better. And at the end of the day, sweet potatoes are still real food. They
Absolutely
have fiber, and so that was the talk track. It was the opposite of your client for why they came back. So I hope that this conversation between Anna and I is serving you right now, because I know these are the things that we're talking to clients all the time, that they're kind of working through, or us ourselves are working through it, and trying to figure out the right thing for our metabolism, our body, our family. We're juggling all of the same balls in the air. These are the things that we think about when we do the research, so that we can put these books out into the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, honestly, there's no one size fits all.
No,
right? There's no one size fits all at the same time. And so there's so much that's going on between what season of the year it is, what season of our life are we in, what season of our relationships are we in, like all of those things do matter. You're, a young mom having a new baby in the house, a toddler, and, with food preferences and how that changes things. So like there's that balancing act. And, have a teenage daughter in the house, and, and convincing her that sodas with high fructose corn syrup are not healthy, right? It's like, even if you're spending them with her own, like even if she's buying them with her own money, like converting these things, these transitions, these are wars that mothers have to fight.
It's so true. It's so
and
true.
There's a negotiation power around them sometimes. But, there are different things that we do address, and we can, again, I think the biggest thing as women is leading by example. What's serving us? And also, where do we have grace? Grace for my patients, grace for myself, grace for my children, and be able to see, okay, this is a self-experimentation phase that going through. Okay, let me just hold safe space. Lead by example, make sure that the choices that I have are good choices, and just, these are things that they will fall back on, as I've seen with my older daughter now, giving, really focusing on natural medicine, natural foods, natural childbirth. And God bless her. That's above, beyond my amazing, wildest imagination, really. And that how she did all that, but that's leading by example. Like, and she would say, I exemplified it, making choices, and what that did, how that changed the way my life looks, and I think that's really powerful. And it's powerful to remember when we're women, especially, I'm a single mom and raising daughters, and just having that grace for myself and grace for them. And, as we go through menopause, there's this transition, and there's a hormonal transition, a physiologic transition. And I always say menopause is mandatory and natural. Suffering is optional. Suffering is optional. And these are, that's why I'm passionate about getting this stuff out, right? So like you are. And what are things we can do? Like even yesterday I had essential oil for her. And so I was like manifesting you, what essential oil would be good? We did rose. We just felt like rose would be a great essential oil to bring in.
So beautiful.
But these little things that we learn from each other, and sometimes you don't even realize. I'm glad I can share how you influenced my life with essential oils.
Thank you.
Yeah.
with the five plans,
Five 6-day
five
plans.
plans. Okay. Just five plans, 6 days. I know that there's guidance as to which one to start.
Yeah.
And do you recommend, because I know women are thinking, okay, how do I navigate this? We all want to get it right. And so, there's guidance on how to do it. And is it at the end of the day, are we ideally trying them all at some point in time,
I want
or?
everyone to try them all. I'm
Okay.
going to run through them all as a group in my Girlfriend Doctor community, my Keto Green community on Facebook. We'll be running through each of the plans. And I do have a menopause quiz. So you have a link for that. And the quiz just takes you through some questions. Say, what might be the next right plan for you to get you to your where you want to be as quickly as possible. So there's that guidance. But I did put the plans in an order in the book, and strategically that made sense to me. So I start with my Keto Green Extreme plan, really an autoimmune plan based
Yes.
on Keto Green
Yeah.
principles. So avoiding all nightshades and peppers and aggravating foods that could affect us. So if you have an autoimmune disease, that might be the place to start, but I'm going to start us all there. And then I go into a plant-based plan because the number one problem, especially women doing keto, experiences constipation. It's terrible. And plus, we need that diversity in the gut microbiome. So we go plant-based next in a keto kind of way. And so again, Keto Green. And then I go straight to carnivore, a nose to tail food plan that is just yummy and delicious. And my, honest to God, my liver cardamom seared liver recipe is amazing. And I made it for my daughter, Ava Marie, my young teenager, and she ate it up and had seconds. And I never told her what it was. So it was good. But it was a very good thing. And then so we go right from carnivore to a cleanse because we're in high ketosis. We're not going to be hungry. It's a perfect time to power through a liver gallbladder cleanse. And I call it my keto cleanse. And then from there, we go to a carb up. And what do we learn from each of those 6 days on the journey? What do we learn about ourselves? How are we feeling? And again, when we're in community, we can do it better. And I always build my plans, my programs, my mission around community, because we know it creates a blue zone. So we're creating a virtual blue zone in the Girlfriend Doctor community.
Love it. And the other big question I know women are going to be wondering is, in perimenopause, can we be doing this? Because my gut tells me yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I have actually all ages doing it, including men doing it. And actually I have a famous, so excited. I got yesterday a call, a famous All-American basketball player. He's, ex-Maverick player. He's like, I'm following your Keto Green plan. Just, it's amazing. Tell me, what do I need to do to keep going? I'm like, huh, you want to do menopause with us? How do you feel? And so, but I mean, it's so true. And I've had so many guys and partners do the plans, do Keto Green, and the men get amazing results too.
Yeah,
And
always.
definitely for my fertility patients, for my PCOSers, it's just powerful and it's worth looking at and trying. I think we know that getting into ketosis is powerful for the brain, especially from menopause and beyond. We have to do it in a way that's healthy for our metabolism, healthy for anti-aging, right? For aging gracefully, and supports our immune system. And that's why I've created this really, and using food from around the world. I've bought my first plane ticket when I was 13. My mom told me travel would be one of my best forms of education. And my goal with this book, Mariza, was to travel around the world and do a documentary on menopause around the world. But the pandemic hit. So we had a little stall
Pick
on
up.
that idea. But I did incorporate menopause around the world into the book too.
Mm.
So some fun recipes, some fun advice.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. I am such a fan of Keto Green, and and what feels so good to me is that that is such a foundational protocol that I think can and will benefit everybody. But then having this backup book to have pauses to reset those plateaus, is going to be, is so powerful. But I don't know if you feel that way, if you feel strongly around that the keto green is really foundational. To me, it feels
Absolutely.
very foundational. And then
Yep.
having this, as you said, there's going to be, everyone's different depending on what's going on in their lives, that I hear of all the time, people who plateau. And then what's super, super important is to be able to have another protocol or program, even a 6-day pulse that can move us through whatever that plateau is based on what may be going on in the body.
Thank you, Mariza. I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, Dr. Anna Cabeca, where can we go and check you out? So I know you've got the quiz. We're going to go and hook people up. And the book, I take it, is where, I know it's in right where this goes live, it's going to be in pre-order, and it's going to be pre-ordered, basically available everywhere books are sold.
Everywhere books are sold. Always support your, local bookseller whenever possible. So really appreciate that. And then come back to dranna.com and at the link that you have provided them for the book bonuses, because with that link that Dr. Mariza is giving you, there's an extra $20 gift card to my store, which is really powerful. Lots of really great ancillary material to support with MENOPAUSE, including batch cooking guides and some additional recipes and just some great videos, cooking videos, and lots of good fun support. And plus my daily activity list, a little checklist journal that I think just goes hand in hand to that discernment piece. How am I doing? Checking in with myself. How am I feeling? Am I doing the other things that in my life that really add to good health besides what I eat, like my oxytocin increasing activities? So it's those little reminders that are really powerful. So, and then on Instagram, on social, at the Girlfriend Doctor. So please join me there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anna Cabeca. It's such a privilege to have you on here today, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.